sorry. So.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I will call this special called meeting of the Scott County Fiscal Court to order. Today is the 12th day of November, and I will ask you to join me in the court in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that said, then I will ask Ms. Hamilton to call the roll.
Mr. Hostetler.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
I heard him.
He's on there. I heard him
Barely.
too.
Mr. Corman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Pratt.
Here.
Mr. Livingston. Mr. Culbertson.
Here.
Judge Covington.
Present. With that said, we have a quorum and can proceed. The first matter on the agenda to consider is a sports courts change order. And I've shared information related to this change order, and it's there at Great Crossing Sports Courts. And Ramona with Element Design has gone back and forth with Hinkle Construction Services, and just looking at the lay of that potential court, they really feel like there's a real need for a French drain to be installed. And the price that they shared there was originally $11,848, and that's with a stainless steel grate because they were concerned about, they put an iron cover on it that it would bleed onto the court surface. And you know, I'll be honest with you, I felt like this was a high number. Talking with JR today, we called Lauren with Hinkle. He explained essentially that they have to dig it out, and they build a concrete trough, and then and then they set that down inside of there and then run it off the court surface. And I'd asked him to break it down by labor and hours and such. And I asked him this afternoon, or really this morning with JR on the phone, if they would do it for $8,000. And they called back just a little while ago and said the very best they felt like they could do it was for $9,500. So it's for your consideration, and I will navigate forward the way you all vote and such. But we do need some type of drainage where they're working once the courts get finished. And not the whole length.
It says 32 linear feet of PVC, but I don't think that's the whole.
I think the actual grate is only going to be like 14 feet, and then they'll run it. They have to bury it out.
So we're going to go with stainless
Yeah,
and not
iron.
What about galvanized? I don't know. Will that hold up? Probably, maybe not out there.
Sure, David. We'll ask everybody to do so. And Chip, could you turn up the volume possibly for David and Chad? Go ahead, Rick.
We can't see you.
Okay.
I'm not complaining.
Oh, okay. And I will say that with the short notice on the special called meeting, we don't have studio. Like a
But it's
point.
on the court itself, or
No,
it's
it'd
in
be
the
at
grass?
one end. They're going to try to
Oh, okay.
push it down
Catch all
towards.
the water, so it's not just running underwater.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of a slope right there.
Yeah.
Between the existing tennis courts and the pickleball courts on the lower side where the drainage
I
So
mean,
it's-
drainage is the biggest threat to the courts that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, every court I have,
true.
I end up, always dealing with cracks because of drainage. No matter who does it, it seems like it's always a fight. So I don't know if it helps keep water from.
puddling and
Yeah. Anytime you got water, it's just gonna erode it quicker. I fight it like crazy.
well, let me ask you this.
Well, I don't know.
So they've said they could do stainless for $9,500. Do you all want to propose a motion to approve me to, if galvanized
95 or less.
95 or less, based on any other cost value engineering we could do?
I'll make a motion there.
Okay, so we have a motion, second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next matter of business, we will ask for a motion to go into executive session, KRS 61810 1B. Motion from Mr. Pratt.
Second.
Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll go into closed session. David and Chad will conference you in. Okay, let them jump back on.
Got Chad back on.
We can go ahead, and would there be a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
So we had a motion from Mr. Hostetler, a second from Mr. Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of coming out of executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that said, we're out of executive session. What we will do right now is consider a termination and mutual release of option to purchase real estate agreement. Mr. Culbertson will read it. After he reads it, then we will open the floor for any public comment. I will ask you to keep your comments to 4 minutes if you so choose to request a comment. And then I'll have any comments from magistrates or such, and then if there would be a motion to approve or the pleasure of the court, will go from there. So with that said, I'll ask Mr. Culbertson to read the agreement.
Yes, sir. Termination and mutual release of option to purchase real estate as amended. This termination and mutual release of option to purchase real estate as amended, hereinafter the mutual release, made and entered into this blank day of blank 2024, hereinafter the effective date, being the date the last party executed this mutual release, by and between the Scott County Fiscal Court, 101 East Main Street, Georgetown, Kentucky 40324, hereinafter Scott County, and Howard O. Wiles III and Leslie Wiles, husband and wife, 2725 Royanwood Road, Midlothian, Virginia 23113, and Sandra Nell Hill, a single person, 925 Locust Street, NE, St. Petersburg, Florida 33701, hereinafter collectively Wiles Hill. Witnesseth, whereas Scott County and Wiles Hill entered into an option to purchase real estate dated July 26, 2023, as amended by amendment dated July 25th, 2024, hereinafter the option agreement, and concerning real property designated by the Scott County PBA as parcel numbers 138-30-001.000 and 138-30-001.001, and located in Scott County, Kentucky, hereinafter the property. Whereas Scott County and Wiles Hill desire to release one another from any and all rights and obligations in and to said option agreement, so that Wiles/Hill may pursue closing on the sale of said property pursuant to and in accordance with a backup or secondary contract, hereinafter the backup contract. And whereas, except as set forth below, Wiles/Hill shall retain all non-refundable option payments made prior to the execution of this mutual release. Now therefore, for and in consideration of the payment of $350,000 and no $100, or $350,000 from Wiles Hill and the backup contract purchaser to Scott County, hereinafter the early termination payment, which early termination payment shall be made in accordance with and pursuant to the conditions set forth below, Scott County and Wiles Hill do hereby agree as follows, to wit: 1. As consideration for Scott County executing this mutual release, Wiles Hill shall cause to be delivered to Scott County the aforementioned early termination payment as follows, to wit: A. $300,000 from Wiles Hill to Scott County, and B. $50,000 from the backup contract purchaser to Scott County, which amount is a donation. 2. Scott County agrees that the aforementioned early termination payment shall be delivered by Wiles Hill and the backup contract purchaser or their agents to Scott County immediately subsequent to the completion of the closing on the backup contract in the form of a wire transfer, cashier's check, or attorney's escrow account check. 3. As consideration for Wiles Hill executing this mutual release and delivering the aforementioned early termination payment to Scott County shall cause to be delivered to Wiles Hill immediately subsequent to the full execution of this mutual release the results and reports from the environmental phase 1 study, the geotech study, and the Alta survey with related title insurance commitment and meets and bounds legal description of the property to the extent completed, all of which were performed or in the process of being performed at the direction of Scott County as a matter of due diligence during the term of said option agreement, for all of which due diligence payment in full has been made. 4. The parties hereto understand and agree that this mutual release shall be deemed effective upon full execution hereof, but conditioned upon the delivery by Wiles Hill and the backup contract purchaser or their agents of the aforementioned early termination payment to Scott County immediately subsequent to the closing on the backup contract, which backup contract closing shall occur, and with said early termination payment being delivered to Scott County no later than 30 days after full execution hereof. 5. In the event the early termination payment is not delivered to Scott County within 30 days after the full execution of this mutual release, then in that event this mutual release shall be automatically rendered null and void and of no further legal effect, and the parties hereto shall be restored to their original respective positions under the option agreement as amended, with all rights and obligations thereunder, as if this mutual release were never executed. And 6. If so requested by Wiles Hill, upon the delivery of said early termination payment by Wiles Hill and the backup contract purchaser or their agents to Scott County agrees to simultaneously with such delivery execute an unconditional full and final release of said option agreement. In testimony whereof, Scott County by and through its duly authorized representative and Wiles Hill have hereunto set their hands on the dates indicated below to be effective as of the day and year first above written.
Questions or comments? Would there be any public comment?
So I guess the big question is, who is the backup contract with, or who, there's an imminent buyer who's going to buy this land, and who is that? And so, am I allowed to ask you all if you know? I'm not asking who it is, but do you?
I can answer. I have no idea, and that's not been revealed.
Right. So that's just a big open question. Someone is clearly planning, it seems to do some development work on this property, and what are they going to do? So that's the question. So here's what. So one option for you all. There's multiple options. We could go ahead and buy this land, knowing that there's this buyer out there who's probably going to rebuy it from you all. So you kind of know that you buy it, and then you resell it to the backup buyer. But before they get it, you're able to set stipulations on the land, on behalf of the community that has been behind this has been involved in this the whole time, and has indicated this is a very important piece of land to the citizens of Georgetown. So that's the question you all have. Are you going to just leave it to this unknown backup buyer, or do you want to purchase it yourself?
Would you hold, please? Mr. Livingston's saying he can't hear you. Can you? And then Cam, can you turn up that microphone? Chip, can you turn up that microphone, please? Yeah, is it on? We turned it on when we put it in there. It's on.
No, testing. Okay.
Please proceed.
No, so the question is this unknown backup buyer who's clearly interested in the land, and who will probably buy it from you all or the city or whoever else. So, some things that we could do. Everybody's talking about we need a fire station. So especially this land inside the bypass should be of interest to the city. I know like the $9 million price tag is scary. Like if this was $50, you'd all go ahead buy the land. But it's $9 million, and that's just a scary price. But buy the land, retain the inside 114 acres, which people have indicated that they're interested in that. Sort of people they're interested in that. Set up easements for bike trails from the Great Crossing School. So the Colony neighborhood, on our comprehensive plan is planning, it's a connection down to that Wiles land inside the bypass. So that's an interest we have. Affordable housing plan is getting finished at the end of this year. Some amount of acreage inside the bypass is flat and developable, could be used for that. So I think you all should have an interest. Hopefully, I would assume that you do in that inside land, if you could get it for a certain price. So one option is you give it to the undisclosed buyer and hope that they'll sell that back to you. But I just think you all should take control, take control. And also one other thing to consider, the city should probably be involved in this. So the mayor's perspective on this, and the council kind of went along with him last night, is they're not wanting to step on your all's toes. They do have, I'm sure they have opinions and things to say, but they're leaving this to you all since the option's in your name. You could tonight decide what you want to decide, but give the city X number of days, like till the end of the week, to possibly volunteer to just take on the contract, to transfer the option to them. So give the city an option to have a few days, if they want to convene and discuss it, to discuss it. Because right now they kind of probably want to discuss it, but they don't want to step on your toes. They're waiting for an invitation, I think. So hopefully I would invite the city into this conversation. So parkland, a fire station, and affordable housing are things that we should at least be interested in. This Elkhorn Creek land, much of it's in the floodplain. Take control of this thing. Just consider taking control, knowing you have a buyer who will probably buy from you. You're not going to lose money. It's not a huge risk. And maybe put some of this on paper. Like, what would $9 million, what would $4.5 million, if you share it with the city, really do to the financial health of the two mutual governments? Have someone write up a report showing you all that on paper. Right now it's kind of speculating. It just sounds scary. Get some numbers.
So with that said, thank you very much.
Okay.
And just to make comment, the option was obtained and approved with the purpose of a regional business park. That is not a reality at this point. Some of the key words that you used in the conversation is probably set stipulations for the buyer. There's no guarantees, and I am not in the mindset or the thought process that I think is being a good steward of tax dollars to speculate with $9 million of taxpayer dollars. Some of the things that you've said I agree with, and some of the things that you said, if the business park had gone forward, there would have been trails. There would have been a possibility of the inside never being used, because we made it clear that the inside was not going to be part of the business park. And, we had conversations about a potential, other uses. So, but looking at all that, and my point of view is that, the option was obtained for a business park, and that's not a reality. And I do not think taking a risk and trying to put stipulations on a potential, and let me emphasize that, a potential buyer is wise with public money. And I think the number one thing we do is trying to provide services and use taxpayer dollars wisely, and I would not recommend going forward with the purchase option for the whole amount of the property. And the seller has made it very clear that they want to sell the whole thing at one time. Now, any comments from the court?
I agree with what you say, Joe Pat. It's
I'm ready.
I am too. I'm ready to make the motion and move on.
So there's a
We
motion.
just don't have that money to spend.
Any other comments or questions? I have a motion and I have a second. Any other comments or questions? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace? Yes. Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Ellison?
Yes.
Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Judge Covington?
Yes. So with that said, the motion to approve the termination and mutual release of option purchase real estate has been approved. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.